Welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders by interviewing amazing guests to encourage us all to rise up. Enjoy. Well, hello and welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders. And boy, do we have an inspiring guest on the show today. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you so much for having me and for that rather big intro.
It's so great to have you. And Kathleen, it's 7 a.m. in the morning for you. So I want to mention that. Thank you so much for rising so early to join us. And I really want to tell our listeners and viewers about you. So today's guest is Cathleen O'Sullivan. Now, Cathleen O'Sullivan is a leadership mentor, former high-level corporate leader, and host of the legendary Leaders podcast, a truth-telling space for corporate rebels who are ready to ditch performance and lead with courage, clarity, and humanity, most of all. With 15 plus years working inside high-stakes global organizations from Discovery Inc., McArthur Glen, Avid Technology, Kathleen knows the cost of conventional success because she paid it herself. After years of 16-hour days, 4 a.m. starts, and relentless pressure to perform, she hit burnout so severe she had to leave. But that moment became her turning point. And that's why I think it is absolutely so inspiring and such a gift to have you on the show today. So without further ado, let's start with your first question, if you're ready, Kathleen.
Absolutely.
Tell me, what would you say are some of the biggest personal obstacles? Well, we've mentioned some there, you have overcome on your way to success, and how did you do it?
Now that you mention the word success again, I want to say one of the biggest obstacles is to define success in a way that
Yes.
feels aligned. Right? I didn't have that on my list, but here we go. It's such an important one because success was kind of unknowingly defined by others. And
Yes.
I just accepted it. So success meant climb the corporate ladder. Success meant put in loads of hours and be visible and show that you work hard because you are the last one in the office. Wink, wink. Success meant in my East German family environment, she fits into society. She's being a good girl. She
Mm.
behaves, right? And one of the biggest challenges was and is the continuous challenge to truly define success in a way it feels aligned to me, who I am, to the life I lead and I want to lead, and to not lose sight of it. So it's for me
Fantastic.
one of the most important questions to ask myself, and one of the questions I explore with my clients on a regular basis as well.
Okay. Now, since I do want to get back to your personal obstacles, and I know that has been one of them, but since we're on success, I would like to hear your definition of success because I'd love to share mine as well.
Mm.
So tell me, what's your definition?
So my definition of success is threefold. It is, first of all, fully aligned to my life. So I have a vision together with my little family for the life, how we want to live. And that life in particular entails space. So space for playfulness, for fun, for connection. So I shared with you briefly earlier on, I have a 4-year-old. He's going to be 5 very soon. And I love those moments when I can bring him to preschool and I don't rush him out of the house. There is space. There is, as I said, playfulness. We may even be able to play a round of cards quickly in the morning, and have a bit of a giggle on our bikes on the way to school. And that feels wonderful when I feel I can start the day with space to breathe, to be, and to show up at my best right away because space offers me being at my best. So the other thing is around playfulness. So for my partner and I to enjoy one of our big passions, music. We love to go to gigs, small, large. We love to travel, in particular to your neck of the woods, and
Great.
to be out and about and to be able to do that requires us to be aligned on what's important for us and how we want to live life and to create that space on all levels in our family. And there is then the other part. Success is also financial success. And financial
Right.
success for me doesn't necessarily mean I need to get the next million in the next year. I mean, I wouldn't say no to it, but that's not my goal. It's about how can we have a life that feels financially independent.
Mm.
And together, my husband and I are working towards it in different ways. And then there is a hugely important element of success, and that is about how many individuals per week can I help to step out of the grind? And for me, it's like if I can positively touch, and I know that sounds quite intimate, I don't mean it that way, but
Are you sure?
one
No,
person,
thank
one person every single day and create together with them some real aha moments that make them feel different about themselves, that make them feel more at ease about themselves, that help them show up differently as leaders. Happy days.
Fantastic.
And that's my motivation every single day.
I love that. That sounds fantastic. Now, I excuse me to my listeners and viewers, but I have to share my definition of success too.
Please.
And that is, I think my definition of success is doing what you love, doing what
Mm,
brings you joy, and doing it in your own time, at your own pace, in your
yeah,
own space, and achieving a freedom so that you can enjoy your lifestyle. So that's me. But so
I
it's
love
not
that.
about me, it's all about you today. So I want to get back now to the first question because I think it will really, really inspire some of our listeners and viewers. And that is to share, perhaps a couple of big obstacles that you have overcome on your way. And I think what's really interesting was the burnout you mentioned. That's quite a big
Mm,
thing, isn't it? But
yeah.
I don't, it's up to you.
Yeah. Oh, I speak very, very openly about it, because I do believe if we share more about our experiences, call it burnout, call it exhaustion, call it non-stop beating yourself up, however it manifests for people, that can help us identify ways out of it and ways to lead ourselves differently. So leadership is, for me, strongly connected with how you lead yourself. Only then will you be able to effectively lead others and inspire them and have a positive impact on them as well. But burnout isn't just something that happens, and you probably know that better than anybody else.
Absolutely, I can totally
You
relate.
know, that comes overnight. It literally creeps in, and it creeps in particular when you don't pay attention to how you are being and how you're showing up for yourself. So burnout for me probably started very early on in my life, not with regards to feeling exhausted nonstop, but creating certain habits and certain mindsets that drove me towards the burnout. That can be the way how I've been raised. East Germany, communist Germany, it's very much about work hard, money doesn't grow on the tree, follow the rules, be obedient, and as I said before, be that good girl. So
Yes,
you take all of that with you into your life. This
absolutely.
is how I should be.
Mm,
And the way it had showed up for me was I built a tremendous wall around me of how I should be.
mm,
I can't remember when I ever felt in my teenage years and the early years in my career like at ease with myself.
mm.
And I couldn't quite grasp why that was because, you don't know that you've built up this wall. I had this realization only after I realized I suffered from burnout. So that was a big part of it. And then I went into the world of work pretty early on in my life. Well, pretty early on for some people. It's an average age, 18. I didn't go to university right away. I did that later. Started with an apprenticeship. So work, work, work. Make sure you're independent. You're building your life. You're building savings. And again, the way I showed up at work was be productive,
Mm.
work really hard, be the last one in the office, and whatnot. Constantly exceed. And never have I asked myself the question, what does exceeding mean? And what does success mean? Right?
Yeah.
Just go for it. And that becomes your habit. That becomes
Yes.
your normal way of showing up. And if you do that from the age of 18, when did I face burnout? It was in my early mid 30s. So for quite a few years, let's say 14, 15 years, um, then you don't know anymore who is the real me,
Exactly.
how can I work differently and show up differently? Because
Exactly.
it's your DNA, right? And in one of those roles, I was in a management role. I traveled a lot, almost on a daily basis, and you have these moments of where have I woken up today?
Where
What
am
is
I?
going on?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have days full of meetings. You go back. I went back to the hotel and then did my actual quote unquote work until the midnight hour, sometimes beyond it. You wake up in the morning again, you go back to the site, the office, and again, you are in one meeting after the other. Lunch is rare. And as you mentioned in my bio, waking up at 4 a.m. was normal because A, your sleep was disrupted, or a taxi would pick me up in the morning to get me to Heathrow Airport. And here is the weirdo in me. As soon as I sat in the cab, I opened my laptop and I started to work. So it's not like, let's just chill out and breathe and just, arrive. No. There are meetings coming. So what can I get done now?
Mm.
What can I get out so
Because you
that
have to be busy absolutely every
yes,
minute of every day. Now,
yes.
I have to ask you something just on that, Kathleen.
Mm,
Would you say that it was your conditioning? And this is something that I want to ask our listeners and viewers as well, because I'm sure they'll be able to relate to it because we are all victims of our conditioning. And would
mm,
you say that your conditioning stopped you from recognizing your true nature, and that is
mm.
what led to your burnout?
I was nodding when you shared the first part. It stopped me from living into my true nature. Yes. That this led me to the burnout, partially.
Mm.
Partially, because um, a big part of my conditioning was I wanted to show my worth,
Mm.
give me acknowledgement, see me. Um, and that stems definitely from my family and how I've been raised, and I love them to bits. But I still remember if I have been a bad girl, I had to stay in my room. My parents wouldn't talk to me for hours and hours and ignore me. There wouldn't be the usual good night hug. And that really hit me. And I still remember like going into the living room very softly and kind of trying to say, please, please love me, right? And I think that's a big part that accompanied me for years and years, this constant proof to show my worth. So other people say, you are a good girl, basically. You did a good job. We see you. And I remember one of my managers, she said to me, Kathy, why do you always need acknowledgement? Why is that driving you so much? And I looked at her and I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
That's not it. And yes, that's definitely a big part of it. And then I believe another part of it is this drive for achievement.
Mm.
So I have always been a very self-driven person. I wanted to achieve whatever achievement meant. I was hungry for the next step of growth. It doesn't necessarily mean to go upwards, could be sidewards or just more responsibility. And achieving goals for our team, well, it gave me definitely a hit, right? And like, yes, we can do this, and this is great. And it becomes addictive.
Yes.
And then you also start to build stronger relationships. You're kind of have a seat at the table. You can drive important things forward. And again, that becomes addictive.
Yes.
Let's do more of that. You don't want
The
to
rush.
disappoint. The rush, yes. In combination with you don't want to disappoint. All
Yes.
right.
Always
And
seeking
that's
love,
like,
seeking approval. Can I
mm,
do, what can I
yes,
do to get that? What can I do to get that? I can
yes.
totally relate to that. I mean, I became an actor. I needed
Ah.
approval. That's my past life, become an actor. But thank you for sharing that. I think it's something that most of our listeners and viewers can really, really relate to. But moving on now, I want to ask you, and thank you again, to tell us about your business. So tell us about your business. What were the first few steps you took to get your business up and running?
Hmm. Yeah, when I heard about that question or read this question, it made me smile so much because I love the journey of starting the business. So you mentioned already quite a bit about the business I run. So it's a leadership, coaching, mentoring, consulting business, and it's very much focused on helping women leaders to lead with more clarity. And I want to say it again, with more ease. You know, everything I've just shared about my challenges on my journey apply to my clients too. And it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't constantly have to gain approval. The magic happens when we reconnect with ourselves, who we truly are, and we find that ease to be okay with our strengths and our flaws and actually utilize them in the most charming way. Live into our feminine energy too, because what many, many women do, including me, is we step into our masculine energy nonstop.
Mm.
And both help, and both should be there. But let's not overdo the one over the other. They are both
All
helpful in
about
different
balance, isn't
situations.
it?
Yes.
And it's
So,
self-love as well,
yes,
loving
big
ourselves
time.
and accepting it.
Loving yourself, accepting yourself, um, seeing your flaws as something that makes you you.
Absolutely. Loving our
Right?
shadow and our light. That is, in
Yeah.
fact, why I call every single woman a goddess, because it's
Mm,
about being all of who we are.
yeah. I agree. And it just invites you to embrace the person you are and everything you bring into this world. So I know this sounds quite fluffy and woo-woo. I obviously work with business leaders in often large corporates, right? And facing a lot of tension on a day-to-day basis that needs to be managed, and therefore being and remaining connected to yourself can feel like a circus act nonstop, like a real challenge. So what we are gonna sit down with is to identify who is that real you, what built up your personal wall, and start to slowly but surely dismantle it, and then put habits in place that those individuals can apply to their work literally step by step, but right away, that makes them show up differently as leaders. And suddenly they realize they have a huge amount of impact. It's not like you're not achieving your goals anymore, or you go slow. You usually go faster.
And
You
achieve
do
more.
achieve and exceed your goals. Exactly. You build new relationships and deepen them. That's something absolutely beautiful that happens in those moments when you show up like, this is me, right? And suddenly you really move the needle in those businesses.
Oh, it
And
must be
and
so
that's
rewarding.
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. It is rewarding. And the relationships that I build with these individuals, or when I work with groups of people with groups, are rewarding very selfishly as well. And that's where I do where the magic happens between
Yeah,
both sides.
yeah. I love magic. It's all magic, isn't it?
It
Okay,
is.
so I want to ask you next, Kathleen, if you could share with us what in business, what have been your biggest challenges so far and whether you've overcome them, and if so, how did you do it?
Yes. And remind me that I haven't answered yet your other question with regards to how did I get to set up the business, which might be
Oh,
helpful for
thanks for
your listeners
reminding
too.
me. We got carried away, didn't we?
So, what are some of the challenges in business? So, I talk a lot about space and I help these women leaders with creating space for themselves and for others. And that is still an ongoing but beautiful challenge for me. The challenge has become smaller and smaller because I have learned to create space more deliberately on a regular basis. However, and you will know that there are months that are brilliant and there are months that are quieter. And what do high achievers do when there is too much space, we need to fill it and we need to put the pressure on. And we become, or in this case, I have a tendency to become frantic and take a lot of action. So truly embracing space and making sure it remains there to some extent at least is key. And I have this rule as to whether it's a right or wrong rule, but it works for me 70-30. 70% happy to fill them with podcast interviews, with client calls, with workshops and community work with people. 30% have to remain spacious because there are other things that need doing, or I just need space to be and to not have anything planned, or to simply read about a topic that feels relevant and meaningful, whatever it is. But that space has to stay, and protecting that is a challenge. The other thing is around visibility. Now, you mentioned I have a podcast. And there were many reasons why I started a podcast, in particular, the voice and the message that I wanted to share with the world. But one was I really struggled to be properly visible, people seeing my face and seeing me speak, not just hearing me speak. So you can put me on a stage. I work with hundreds of people running workshops, whatever it is. But as soon as you see my face online, that is like, oh my God, what will
How
people
did you
think?
overcome that? Is that with your podcast?
It's with the podcast, it is with sharing messages with, the listeners or my audience on social. It is about I sharing the workshops, like virtual workshops that I've recorded and I've created. And that was like a year's work. I started a business in 2017, but fully in 2019. And it took me a good chunk, I would say 3-4 years at least, to say, okay, now I feel more comfortable in getting out there,
Wow, you
sharing my voice and my
certainly,
face.
you are, I'm sorry I cut you off there, but you're certainly comfortable now. I mean, you're amazing. You are amazing. So you absolutely did it. Congratulations.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I sound hesitant because I still have that inner critic in me.
Ah, that
So
inner critic.
it's so noisy when it comes to visibility and posting like clips, video clips online. It takes me hours to overcome that and to just do it.
Okay.
And sometimes I just have to ask somebody else, just put it out there. Just do it, you know? And that is still something I'm working through. Where does it come from? How does it help me get me in the way? So I'm becoming my own coach in that space.
Now,
And the
people,
third,
sorry.
sorry, the third challenge is around identity still. Identity has been my topic for all these years. So I said to you, I properly started a business, and that was leaving the corporate world and running the business instead before I was doing both. In
You're
2019,
doing both.
in yeah, yeah, I worked in
It's after
corporate
your
and
burnout, you were still doing both. Wow.
yes, that was a while after the burnout. And in 2020, obviously, was the year of the pandemic when it started, but also it was the year when I learned I was pregnant. And I gave birth in 2020. And that was the first time in my own business where I stepped into an identity crisis, I would even call it. You become a mother for the first time, you run a business, you put yourself under pressure to make it work throughout the pandemic as well. I was like, who am I? And I went back into this frantic way of being and making sure I can give my best in all of those areas, which is literally impossible, in particular when you are exhausted with a newborn. And it took me a few years to re-identify who I am now, as a, you want to call me middle-aged woman, a mother, a business owner, and how am I going to show up in this world? And that has been ongoing work with my coach and supervisor for the last 5 years, which has been a journey as well, and will probably be.
Well, it's our journey never ends, does it? Until we actually leave the earth. But I think you touched on something really interesting there, and I think that it's important to mention that we're made up of a million parts
Yeah.
that make us who we are. You know, we play so many different parts in life, and that's really, really important to share. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, my next question to you is going through all that, how would you say you personally keep motivated through difficult times?
Hmm. Again, that's a process. I love that image of an upward spiral. And I saw that in a book, and I can't remember what the book was. I think it's called Getting Unstuck. And that upward spiral talks about all the challenges you experience in your life. And in your early life, you might not even be fully aware of your resourcefulness to deal with those challenges. It just feels like, it feels hard, and now let's push through. And the wiser, let's use that word, the wiser you become, the more challenges you experience, and the more you turn inward. So, really focusing on what is really going on here? What's creating this challenge? And what are my choices in dealing with them? The more you go through these challenges in a more resourceful way.
Yes.
And I would say that is where I am. I don't know where in this upward spiral I am, but I feel wiser, and I feel like any challenge that comes my way will hit me for a moment, depending on the size and the vastness of it. And then I'm able to pretty quickly switch towards, all right, so what are my options here? Why does it even present a challenge? And because of the experience of having had a few challenges in life, I also know, and things are going to be okay again. So I'm kind of applying a level of curiosity with regards to, ooh, how am I going to emerge from this challenge? And what will be different about me, once I've made my way through it and I worked through it. And that curiosity really keeps me going. I had a conversation with my husband yesterday who's going through a big challenge at the moment and feels really down. And I could just, in an incredibly trusting way, say, you know what? It's going to be absolutely okay. And if I envisage ourselves in someone next year, this is what I see. And I completely trust in it. And that speaks to the second part, and that is all around community.
Mm.
So I have my trusted five. I'm not someone who needs to have a huge network and needs to be out and about all the time, but I have trusted people who I love dearly and who all offer different kind of experience and expertise and personalities. And they are my gang. And I know I can talk things through, and I know I will get honest perspectives and their resourcefulness as well. And that is just brilliant. And that really helps.
That sounds
And then, yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying that sounds fantastic. So even, when things are really tough, it sounds like you have the presence of mind and you've done the work so that you can say, okay, I can see what's happening here, and this too will pass, as does everything.
Yeah.
So that's really, really good advice. And
And the last piece of advice I would give is to really look after yourself, because there might be challenges coming your way that do not feel like, yeah, let's just get through it. We'll manage that too. They may hit you hard,
yeah,
right? I heard from a dear friend of mine yesterday, and she lost a close family member to suicide. That is not something where you say, that's a challenge we're just gonna go through. This is tough. This is really, really hard. And I can't even fully imagine how hard it must be. And this is certainly not one of those moments. This is a moment where you are like,
I mean, that's all.
what do I need
Yeah,
to grieve, to
that,
be, to step out, to give myself a huge amount of space, however you want to use that space, to be with one another and to support one another,
yeah. It falls into a
and not to rush
area
through.
of dealing with grief, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a big one, that one.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So, my next question to you is, what is the best advice you have received recently?
Ha.
Can you think of anything?
Yeah, there's actually quite a bit, but it's not a newbie. It's something that people will have heard before. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. Um,
Okay, okay.
all right.
That's good
Yeah, I
advice,
can
isn't
do
it?
that.
Yeah.
I can do that too. If you need help, I can do that. No problem at all. We don't always have to rescue, step in, do it all. Yes, you are capable. You may even have somewhat capacity. You might not help yourself and others, because in particular for leaders, if it is empowering others, yeah, if it is helping other people learn something new, step away. You don't need to do it for them. And that is, by the way, something I keep learning every single day, in particular in my family life. So,
It's hard with
yes,
family, isn't it? Because you really want to step in and save them, but you can't. You
yeah.
can't save anyone.
No, no, you can't. And now also think about, you have a little one. He's got to fall, he's got to stumble, he's got to make his own experiences. And man, is he going to remember that learning?
Yes.
If mom tells him, don't do that, let me do it for you, well, he gets easily used to that. And that's not helpful. And the
No,
same
it's
applies
not.
to leadership roles.
Absolutely. That's really, really good advice, isn't it? And it's a really good reminder too. So next up, what I want to ask you, Kathleen, is just a couple, but what are your favorite business tools, resources, and why?
Hmm. I have a very old school planner. I
In
love
like a
books in
calendar?
general. It's no, it's like a booklet,
Okay.
and every day asks me questions around goals and progress. But it also asks me questions about my energy and what offered me energy, what sucked energy out of me, and helps me stay connected to my overall vision as well. So it's like kind of spiritual planner,
Oh, I
and
like that.
I love that. And I use it as my strategic planner. So probably staying connected to the strategic goals, the daily goals. It helps me connect also to my well-being, because there's also a part around how have I shown up for myself nutritionally with regards to exercise, movement, space for mindfulness, whatever mindfulness means to different people. For me, it's like it can be the walk where I simply be and I breathe, or it can be deliberate breathing exercises or meditation. I feel every day differently, so I choose what I like that day,
Yeah.
and that really helps me. It helps me stay on track,
It
helps me
sounds
stay
like a great
present and
planner.
focused. Yes, it
Anything else
is.
you want to mention?
Yeah, I also love learning, so that is really important for me. So here I'm gonna do some PR and advertising for Mind Valley. I am an eager member of that app because it offers so much learning into in coaching space, in the self-development space, in the leadership space, whatever you really want to learn about. And that is something that is for me really important. That is a resource and a tool at the same time, because you gain loads of new tools for my work in this case. And it's a resource for me to
As
reconnect with
well.
myself on a daily basis as well.
That
And
sounds
it is
great.
something people often say to me, oh, learning does take so long and I don't have time to attend a course. It doesn't have to be. I might sometimes just join a 5 minutes quick learning session, and sometimes I have time for an hour. It depends. But I
And I
make sure
think
every day I train my brain.
that's awesome. That's really fantastic. And I think it's important to mention too that time, because time is quite often and that something an issue that comes up with many people. And it all
Yeah.
comes down to what our priorities are as well, doesn't it? Because if something's a high priority,
Mm.
you just make time for it, even if it is five.
Yeah.
And I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So my next question to you is, what are your current goals and how are you striving to achieve them?
Hmm. So the one goal I shared already is going to remain in place every single day. I want to touch one person and help them lead themselves and others differently with far more impact and clarity and ease. So that is the key, and that's the core of everything I do. The other goal is around the podcast. We are in the top 4 to 5% at the moment. I want to get it up to the next level, so 3%,
And
because I realized just from testimonials or reading testimonials, there are messages and practicalities that land with people. And if the podcast is the way to touch one person every day to do something differently about how they lead themselves, happy days. So I'm choosing that path on top of it.
I just
And
want to say
then there,
congratulations. That's awesome.
oh, thank you. Thank you so, so much. And together with my business partner, so we founded another business last year that's focused on tech scale up organizations in particular and leading through those complexities in that phase. So the leaders emerge with more clarity as well. So there you have to parallel. And we are working currently on a really exciting program that we want to offer that kind of, not just kind of, that's gonna meet the need of not investing like hours every single day.
Mm.
So helping them make it happen, that creates tremendous change for them and their teams as well, and builds community. And we're really excited about it,
That sounds
working towards the
really,
launch
really
at the
good.
moment. Yeah,
Congratulations. That sounds fantastic. So good luck with
thank you.
that. I'm sure you don't need
Thank you.
to. Okay, so my next question to you, because we are kind of running out of time, are you currently running any promos, contests, or giveaways, anything like that?
Yeah, I have some exciting, I think it's exciting giveaways because when I show up on a podcast conversation with a real leader such as you are, right, who also wants to make this positive change in the world and has an impact in the world, I am going to give away 3 45 minutes lead with impact sessions for the first three
Ah.
people who get in touch with me.
Did you hear that, everyone? Thank you so much, Kathleen. That's so generous. Thank you. Make sure you take advantage of that for our listeners and viewers. That's really, really generous. Thank you. Okay, so two more questions to go, and that's it. What advice would you give to other aspiring female entrepreneurs, if any?
Hmm. Well, you will like that. Don't build a business that costs you your health and joy.
Mm.
Don't forget that you are the asset, your energy, your personality, your intuition, everything you bring will help this business to thrive if you, and here's the connection to visibility, if you are willing to show up like this real you and to be visible and to be present with others. So really protect your joy and your health above anything else.
Oh, thank you. That's such great advice. Thank you so much. So, lastly, Kathleen, how do we connect with you?
Well, you can send me indeed an email, and the email address is leaderspace@cathleenosullivan.com. You can also just visit the website where you have the podcast links, the social media links, and
So,
that is
everything's on your website.
cathleenosullivan.com.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry about that. Can you say that address again?
cathleenosullivan.com.
Brilliant. Where else? Social media, LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm present on social media. So LinkedIn is the go-to platform, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, but LinkedIn is probably the one go-to platform. Kathleen O'Sullivan is the name you have to look for. I believe there are a few, but I hope you're going to recognize me and then
So this is
connect.
Kathleen, everyone. Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so, so much for your time and all your
Thank you.
valuable advice and sharing your story with us, Kathleen. It's been an absolute joy, and I wish you amazing success. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything you are doing and for having me here on your wonderful show. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Gotta Show podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and we look forward to seeing you next time.